The movie opens with an elegant, lively party set in a seemingly perfect 1950s-style community known as Victory Town. The party is held at the home of Dean and Bunny, two of the town's prominent residents, where couples are gathered to enjoy the festivities. The women participate in a light-hearted balancing game, each trying to keep a tray with a drink steady on their heads. Amid laughter and friendly competition, Bunny triumphs, crowned as the winner. Meanwhile, Alice and her husband Jack, one of the central couples, share a private, carefree moment, sneaking out of the party for a joyride where they race through the night, savoring the thrill of freedom and connection as Jack does donuts with his car. The next morning, Alice is doing her routine of preparing breakfast for Jack before he heads off to work. The couple appears to lead a picture-perfect life, reflecting the idealized vision of the 1950s lifestyle. Alice, along with the other wives, line up to wave goodbye as their husbands drive off at the same time each day to work at the mysterious Victory headquarters. While the men leave for what they say is highly classified technology-related work, the women spend their days managing the household, socializing, and attending activities in Victory Town. Alice frequently joins her close friend Bunny and other wives, indulging in leisurely pursuits and their carefully structured routines. In the afternoons, Alice and the other women attend a dance class led by Shelley, the poised and confident wife of Victory's enigmatic founder, Frank. During one session, Shelley introduces a new member of the community, Violet, whose husband, Bill, recently joined the other men working at Victory headquarters. Shelley is encouraging and sets high expectations for the women to maintain grace, discipline, and composure. Later, at a gathering hosted by Frank and Shelley in their home, residents of Victory Town come together for an evening of mingling and admiration for Frank, who subtly alludes to the continued success of the Victory project. During this event, a woman named Margaret begins to raise concerns about the community, suggesting that the women are being kept in the dark about certain things. Her husband, Ted, quickly pulls her away, and other guests whisper about Margaret's troubled mental state. The backstory on Margaret reveals that she had once walked out into the desert with her son, who then mysteriously vanished. Margaret has since claimed that Victory's leaders took her child from her. Frank, remaining charismatic and charming, dismisses Margaret's outburst as a product of her imagination, though his control over the gathering is evident. Over the following days, Alice's unease grows. She notices a plane crash off in the distance near Victory headquarters, and, despite the trolley driver's warnings, she ventures toward it alone. On her journey, Alice stumbles upon a strange building covered in mirror-like surfaces, standing ominously in the desert. When she reaches out to touch the glass, she experiences intense, disturbing visions, including synchronized dancers, flashes of blood, and Frank's voice echoing in her mind. Suddenly, Alice awakens back in her home, disoriented, with no memory of how she returned. Jack reassures her that she had been home for hours, but Alice senses that something is amiss. Alice's disorientation and unease only deepen after she receives a distressing phone call from Margaret, who cryptically asks Alice about the plane crash. Though Alice tries to deny it, Margaret urges her to investigate further before the call abruptly ends. Soon after, Alice sees Margaret standing on the roof of her house, appearing distraught. Alice tries to reach her, but before she can get there, Margaret slits her own throat and falls from the rooftop. Immediately, men in red suits appear and pull Alice away from the scene as they tend to Margaret's body. In the days that follow, Dr. Collins, the Victory community physician, visits Alice at Jack's request to check on her mental state. Dr. Collins tries to reassure Alice by downplaying Margaret's death, claiming that she simply fell out of her window. He prescribes Alice some sedatives, which she does not trust. While he and Jack are distracted, Alice sneaks a look into Dr. Collins's briefcase and discovers a file on Margaret, labeled Security Risk. Although most of the information is blacked out, Alice takes the file and later burns it, feeling as though she's uncovering clues to a larger, sinister scheme. Strange occurrences haunt Alice's daily life. She has a vision of Margaret violently smashing her own head into a mirror, and her breakfast eggs turn out to be mysteriously hollow. During one unsettling bath, her reflection appears to take on a life of its own, adding to her sense of disconnection and paranoia. Alice begins to feel increasingly isolated, especially as her husband Jack and close friend Bunny dismiss her concerns. At a major event hosted by Frank, Victory's founder takes the stage and surprises the crowd by promoting Jack to a senior advisory position. The promotion is met with cheers, and Frank leads everyone in a chant of "Whose world is this? Ours." Alice, feeling alienated, steps outside, where she's confronted by Bunny, who warns her against questioning Victory and making assumptions that could be dangerous. Determined to uncover the truth, Alice hosts a dinner party for Jack, Frank, Shelley, and other couples, including Violet and Bill. During the evening, Alice points out unsettling patterns, such as how all the women have identical stories about how they met their husbands and that they all come from just 3 cities: Philadelphia, Chicago, or Baltimore. She directly accuses Frank of concealing something dark, but Shelley scolds her for speaking out of line, while Frank looks on with amusement, enjoying Alice's defiance. Unable to ignore her growing fears, Alice pleads with Jack to leave Victory with her. Jack initially agrees, and they make it to the car, but the men in red suits intercept them and pull Alice out, dragging her away while Jack watches, torn and helpless. Alice is then taken to a sterile facility where she undergoes a disorienting medical procedure that further scrambles her memories and identity. In a flashback, we see Alice in her real life, where she worked as an overworked nurse, struggling to keep up with grueling shifts. Jack, in their small, rundown apartment, grows resentful over her lack of attention, and he becomes increasingly obsessed with Frank's Victory project. In a chilling reveal, it's shown that Victory is a virtual simulation that allows men to trap their wives in a fantasy world where the women exist solely to serve them. The men live dual lives, maintaining control over their wives in Victory while connected to the simulation in the real world. Jack had pulled Alice back into Victory whenever she began to wake up, desperate to keep her there. Back in Victory, Alice confronts Jack, realizing that he has manipulated her into this forced, fabricated life. When he insists that he did it all for her, Alice lashes out in anger, hitting him with a liquor glass and killing him. The death creates a rupture in the simulation, causing a series of chaotic malfunctions throughout Victory. In the chaos, Bunny reveals that she's known the truth all along, that her children aren't real, and that she's chosen to stay in Victory for her own reasons. She encourages Alice to escape before it's too late. In a thrilling chase, Alice steals Jack's car and races toward Victory HQ with the men in red suits close behind. She manages to evade Dr. Collins and the pursuing red suits, finally reaching the mysterious building at the top of the mountain. In the real world, Shelley takes this moment to turn on Frank, stabbing him and declaring, "It's my turn now." Meanwhile, Alice rushes toward the mirror, barely escaping the grasp of the red suits. She reaches the glass just as it cuts to black. The final sound we hear is Alice gasping, signaling her return to reality and escape from the oppressive world of Victory.